O Shankara, the great God of gods, I am now fully satisfied. This was the utterance of Goddess Parvati addressed to Lord Shiva after she learned from him about 112 ways to still the mind, attain blissfulness, and ultimately awaken the self. What are these 112 ways? They are meditation techniques. Many of them can still be found in modern-day meditation systems worldwide. For anyone seeking to cultivate better focus, overcome fear and anxiety, or discover and develop inner strengths, whatever the purpose, it can be achieved through at least one technique mentioned by Lord Shiva. These techniques are part of an ancient text titled Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, a cornerstone of Kashmir Shaivism tradition. You are now watching the final episode in a series on these techniques. In the previous 10 episodes, we explored 101 of the 112 techniques. In this episode, we will examine the remaining 11. At the end, we will also discuss key takeaways and offer a few tips on integrating these meditation practices into daily life. So be sure to stay with us until the end. For new viewers or those unfamiliar with this tradition, here is a brief introduction to Vijnanabhairavatantra, one of the most profound texts on non-duality. Written by an unknown Shaivite master, the original text comprises 163 Sanskrit verses or Shlokas. The narration takes the form of a dialogue between Bhairava and Bhairavi, or Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, who symbolize Brahman, or the supreme consciousness, and the manifested world, respectively. In the conversation, the goddess seeks to understand the nature of Lord Shiva and the means to attain him. In response, Lord Shiva dispels misconceptions about the nature of supreme reality and succinctly explains 112 techniques for awakening the self. People become wise after learning them. If established even in one of them, whatever one utters becomes true, declares Lord Shiva after explaining these techniques. In this video, as in the previous episodes, we provide broad translation of the Slokas for each technique, followed by a brief explanation. Let us begin. Technique 102, Sloka 125.
समशत्रौ च मित्रे च समो मानावमानयोः ब्रह्मणः परिपूर्णत्वादिति ज्ञात्वा सुखी भवेत्.
Knowing the fullness of Brahman in everything, one remains joyful, equanimous with both friend and foe, in honor and dishonor. This Sloka explains why an enlightened being is undisturbed by the dual nature of apparent reality. An awakened one is always in a blissful state and understands this same state exists beneath all emotions, which arise from the surface level polarities in everyone and everything. Technique 103, Shloka 126.
न द्वेषं भावयेत् क्वापि न रागं भावयेत् क्वचित् रागद्वेषविनिर्मुक्तौ मध्ये ब्रह्म प्रसर्पति.
By not thinking in terms of friends and enmity and being free from attachment and hatred, one should remain in the middle where supreme consciousness blossoms. This is similar to the middle path preached by Gautama Buddha. We tend to categorize people into us versus them based on emotional and material benefits, both of which are subject to change. Similarly, attachment and aversion stem from likes and dislikes, which also fluctuate. But by refraining from swinging to either extreme, we rise above both sides and gain the opportunity to awaken to higher consciousness. Technique 104, Shloka 127.
यदवेद्यं यदग्राह्यं यच्छून्यं यदभावगं तत्सर्वं भैरवं भाव्यं तदन्ते भूतसम्भवः.
Contemplate Bhairava as an all-pervading void, beyond knowledge, beyond grasping, beyond imagination. In the end, awakening takes place. Whatever the mind comprehends or imagines, it becomes an object and thus finite. But Bhairava or Supreme Consciousness is infinite. When one lets go of all effort to understand it and simply rests in one's own being, one experiences the infinite. Technique 105, Shloka 128.
नित्ये निराश्रये शून्ये व्यापके कलनोज्झिते बाह्याकाशे मनः कृत्वा निराकाशं समाविशेत्.
Fix the mind on outer space, eternal, unsupported, wide, all-pervasive, and beyond estimation, and unite with the spaceless, unmanifest dimension. Space, the subtlest element of our existence, possesses all the qualities of Bhairava or Supreme Consciousness, except consciousness itself. By maintaining awareness of the space around us, individual consciousness absorbs its qualities, assuming the nature of Supreme Consciousness. Technique 106, Shloka 129.
यत्र यत्र मनो याति तत्तत्तेनैव तत्क्षणम् परित्यज्यानवस्थित्या निस्तरङ्गस्ततो भवेत्.
Wherever the mind goes, abandon the object it dwells on in that very moment. The mind, having no support, becomes free from disturbances. The mind clings to thoughts of the past and future, generating emotions like fear, regret, or anxiety. To practice this technique, observe your thoughts as much as possible. The moment you become aware that your mind has latched onto something, discard that subject immediately. Then remain in full awareness for some time, keeping the mind blank. Technique 107, Shloka 130.
भया सर्वं रवयति सर्वतो व्यापकोऽखिले इति भैरवशब्दस्य सन्ततोच्चारणात् शिवः.
The word Bhairava denotes the one who dispels all fear. He pervades everything, even terrifying howls and cries. By continuously repeating the word Bhairava, one becomes one with Shiva. This is Japa meditation, in which one mentally repeats the name Bhairava at all times, with full understanding that Bhairava represents Supreme Consciousness. Technique 108, Shloka 131.
अहं ममेदमित्यादि प्रतिपत्तिप्रसङ्गतः निराधारे मनो याति तद्ध्यानप्रेरणाच्च मे.
While asserting I am, this is mine, and so on, make the mind supportless through inspired meditation on the higher state. In this technique, when we say I am, we should refer to the Supreme Consciousness rather than the ego self composed of body and mind. Then, even when we use I and mine, the mind does not cling to the ego self but remains with higher consciousness. Technique 109, Sloka 132.
नित्यो विभुर्निराधारो व्यापकश्चाखिलाधिपः शब्दान् प्रतिक्षणं ध्यायन् कृतार्थोऽर्थानुरूपतः.
By meditating continuously on the words eternal, omnipresent, independent, all-pervasive, and Lord of universe, one attains one's objective in alignment with the meaning of these words. This sloka highlights the power of words. Whenever we utter a word with full awareness of its meaning, our mental space temporarily assumes the quality denoted by the word. If we keep repeating it, we begin to embody it. Technique 110, Sloka 133 and 134.
अतत्त्वम् इन्द्रजालाभमिदं सर्वम् अवस्थितं किं तत्त्वमिन्द्रजालस्य इति ताढ्याच्छमं व्रजेत्.
This world is illusory, like a magic show. Where is reality in magic? With firm belief in this, one attains peace.
आत्मनो निर्विकारस्य क्व ज्ञानं क्व च वा क्रिया ज्ञानायत्त बहिर्भावा अतः शून्यमिदं जगत्.
How can there be any knowledge or activity in the changeless self? All external objects fall under the realm of knowledge, hence the world is void. These shlokas convey a single message. Don't perceive the world as ultimately real, as it is constantly changing, unlike the self, the supreme being. Thus, the knowledge of this unreal world is also unreal. If we accept this concept, we will be far less affected by worldly events. Technique 111, Shloka 135.
न मे बन्धो न मोक्षो मे भीतस्यैथ विभीषिकाः प्रतिबिम्बमिदं बुद्धेर्जलेष्विव विवस्वतः.
There is no bondage or liberation for me. These are mere reflections of the intellect, like the sun's reflection in water, which only frightens the ignorant. This sloka states that the concepts of bondage and liberation are mental constructs. Considering bondage as real or attachment to the material world is like mistaking the sun's reflection in water for the sun itself. The reflection may appear distorted depending on the movement of the water, but the sun remains unchanged. Similarly, even when one is deeply entangled in worldly attachments, the self remains free and unaffected forever. Finally, Technique 112, Shloka 136.
Indriyadvarakam sarvam sukha dukkadi sangamam iti indriyani samtyajya svattasvatmani vartate.
All doors of perception bring pain and pleasure through the senses. By turning away from sense perceptions and withdrawing within, one abides in one's own self. This technique encourages us not to engage our sense organs at all times, but to set aside time to turn inward, time for meditation. We can connect with the true self only when no sense organ is engaged and the mind is free from thought constructs. After revealing the 112 meditation techniques, Lord Shiva concludes with a powerful statement.
Manasam chetana shakti atma cheti chatushayam yadha priye parikshinam tadha tadbhairavam vapuhu.
When the set of four, the mind, awareness, energy, and individual self dissolves, Bhairava is realized. This statement encapsulates the essence of the Vijnanabhairavatantra, a journey from fragmentation to wholeness, from seeking to being. As we conclude this series, let us reflect on some essential takeaways or guiding principles which will help us integrate these techniques into our daily lives. Observation. Begin with self-observation, starting with the breath. Then move on to thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. Then gradually include external sights and sounds. Awareness of emptiness. Be aware of the empty spaces, first in the breath between inhalation and exhalation, then in the mind between thoughts, and finally in the external space around you. Making the body and mind supportless. Expand awareness around the body in all directions until the body feels suspended in space. To make the mind supportless, withdraw energy from thoughts as soon as you become aware of them. Dissolving the body, mind, and objects. Allow your attention to penetrate through bodily sensations, thoughts, or external objects. Then go beyond them and drop all effort. Thinking and becoming. Mentally utter words while contemplating their meanings. Following the middle path. Avoid extremes and remain centered within yourself. With this, we conclude the series on meditation techniques from Vijnanabhairavatantra. I hope you found this series inspiring. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.